Hi, welcome to our Leadership U How-To series. Joining us today is Dr. Christina Angelakos. Dr. Christina?
Hey, it's so good to be here. Thanks for having me on today, Steph.
Awesome, we're glad to have you. She's also an author of Volunteer U.
Now that we got that plug out of the way. No, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me. I love what you guys are doing with the Leadership U series. It's been so helpful for me. And for those who are watching today, if you haven't watched any of the other ones, I really want to encourage you to check them out, especially the ones with Pastor Jim and Betsy. Those have been helping me so much. They talked about how to de-stress during the crisis and just a lot of practical, meaty tips for us out there for leaders. So thank you so much for putting that out, Stephanie. It's been awesome to listen to. I'm really enjoying the series.
Yeah, it's going great, and we're excited for the other series that's a long series that's going to come out. All the topics, we have great speakers, so we're really excited for this.
Yeah, thanks. So today we're going to be talking about productivity. So I wanted to kick off with a little Bible verse, and excuse me while I get it on my phone real fast. We're going to be reading in Ephesians chapter 5, verses 15 through 17. And I love this verse, these three verses. It says, "So be careful how you live. Don't live like fools, but like those who are wise." And here's the important verse right here. It says, "Make the most out of every opportunity in these evil days. Don't act thoughtlessly, but understand what the Lord wants to do." And I've just been thinking a lot about that right now because we're going through such a huge crisis, a traumatic experience across all globally, really. Everybody is touched by this. And a lot of people are taking on new roles, but they're also working from home. And it's a lot of pressure, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of newness. And we're still expected to be productive. And so there's that kind of that weight on us to be productive and also handle this traumatic crisis experience that we're all going through together. And so there are ways to still stay productive during this, right? So we're going to talk about that today. And I just have 7 quick tips to help you be productive during the craziness that's going on right now in the world. So let's jump into those really quickly. And the first one is really that we need to manage our time. So if you're like me and you've been just on the internet nonstop during the crisis, I've been searching articles and just looking up what everyone's experiences has been and how they're reacting to this. And so one of the biggest trends that I've seen in all the articles has been the word time. And you just see it coming up over and over again. And I was thinking about it, and it really is because during all this uncertainty, the biggest thing that has happened to us collectively is we're experiencing just a different perspective of time, right? So some of us have a ton of extra time on our hands. So we're not going out as much. We can't go do the experiences that we're used to. And so we have all this built up time. And then for others of us who are taking on new roles, so we have some parents who are still working full time from home, but they're also taking on the new role of teacher, a full-time cook. If you have kids, you're constantly feeding and cleaning during this time. So there's all these new roles, and our time has just been really skewed. And another thing we've noticed a lot on social media is people are commenting that, "Oh, my time frame is all mixed up. I'm sleeping weird hours now." And so people are experiencing just this really heaviness focused on time. And so what we need to do to be really productive is to manage that time. And so our role as leaders should be to help not only ourselves manage our time, but to help our followers manage their time as well. And so there's a couple different ways that we can be proactive with managing and taking control of our time, because really, if you're anything like me, you've been the first couple weeks of this crisis, you're just sitting at home binging on Netflix, and you look at the time and all of a sudden it's been 6 hours and you're still watching that same series, which is horrible. But like Betsy said, sometimes it's important to veg and kind of distance yourself from what's going on a little bit. So I think that's okay. But it really is, it's important to control your time and not let it control you. So there's a couple of cool productivity tools out there that are free to use that leaders can take on right away that'll help them. Personally, I've been using a tool called Toggl, and it's spelled TOGGL.com. and you can get it online. And basically what it does is it helps you, it'll time your work periods. So I'll put it on, and when I'm working with one client, I have it running, and then I type in, it allows you to put a description in so you can tell exactly what project you're working on. And then you can organize by clients or by projects or whatever it is that you're focused on. And what it's helped me do is just prioritize my time and realize how much time I'm spending on certain tasks. And so for me, that's been really helpful, just to stay productive, to stay in the zone. And so I can knock out a big chunk of work, and I see the time that it's actually taking me. So it's not this abstract quality or abstract idea like, oh, I think I spent an hour or two maybe working on this project. No, I spent 45 minutes here. I spent an hour and a half here. I spent 3 minutes here. It just allows you to take control of that time. And that's been really helpful for me personally. And I think it'll be helpful for leaders too. So there are tons of other options out there other than Toggle. There's also something called Rescue Time. So you can go to rescuetime.com and pick that up, or Clockify. You can also just do a Google search and find them on your own. So there's tons of different ways that you can manage your time. But I found that to be really helpful. And it just helps you, if nothing else at first, it helps you be aware of how much time you're spending on different tasks. So I think that'll be really beneficial to leaders. So number one is just to manage your time and not to let it manage you. Number two, a quick tip to be more productive at home while you're working is to honestly just take breaks. Because what we've been noticing, we've been doing some research, and a lot of researchers have been telling us that the number one problem actually isn't that you're not working hard enough at home, it's that you're overworking. And so that's been something that we've really caught on to lately. And a lot of you might feel it too, right? Because usually when you go to work, you get dressed, you get in the car, you have that maybe a 30-minute drive that gets you to work. Then when you're at work, you have time slots, right? You have meetings, you have times where you're doing things in the day. You take a lunch break, you go off property, you come back, or maybe you're on property, but you're in a different room eating your lunch. And so you have these time segments, and it's very, you're in a format, right? So you're following a routine, and you have little blocks of times that separate everything. And then when you're driving home, right, you're starting to disengage from work. You still might think about it, but you're not at work. Some of you might be bad and keep your email and your phone and check it when you get home. But, a lot of people, you can kind of detach from the work setting, and then you're in home mode, right? But now with a lot of people working from home, there's no detachment. It's you're constantly in work home mode. And so that can be really difficult for people. And you just find yourself, we're seeing people working 13, 14-hour days just because they can now. They have their laptop next to them in the kitchen at all times. Their kids might be coming in, but they're still working. And so we're noticing that can be a really high stressor for people. And not only a stressor, but really you need that time, you need that downtime. And so what we recommend, what a lot of researchers are suggesting, is to take breaks. So even during the day, you're working on a project for an hour, and then you just kind of sit back for a minute and take a walk around the house, or maybe even get outside for a little bit and just breathe some fresh air, take that break, distance yourself from your work, and then continue. And it's really healthy. And research has shown, and this is before the crisis happened either, like a lot of research has been done that shows that breaks actually re-stimulate your brain and help you to further concentrate on big projects. So number two for productivity is please make sure you're taking breaks. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but you will actually get more work done if you're taking breaks in between.
And do you recommend that they also make their workspace where they're not kind of sharing it across? They have a place where they know they come to work, and once they leave that area, it's no longer work.
I love that. Yes, Stephanie, that's so smart. Absolutely. A lot of research has shown that if you create your own workspace, you're allowed to detach, and then you come in, and then your family too knows, okay, this is the spot. If I'm here, mommy's working, daddy's working. This is our zone where we're in the zone, in the work zone. If you need us, we can always come out, but when we're in here, we're working. And so that's helpful. I know some families just can't do that. Like realistically, your space is too small, or maybe you have young children and you really need to be with them. So I understand that, but as much as you can, try to create a space where you have your work. And then also, they say it's really helpful to put pants on and like dress yourself in the morning, pretend like you're actually going to work. It does make a difference. It is fun to work in pajamas, but if you can get dressed up and just make yourself feel like you're in work mode, it really does help put your mind in that frame.
Gotcha. Awesome.
I also like your Batman cup.
Yes, that's part of me that has to stay home.
I love it. And I love it. You're making your work zone, your personality too, which is nice. So number 3 for productivity is to write things down. So a lot of research has been done on this, and you can do searches on the web, but it just proves that if you make checklists, it helps you to be a lot more productive. So personally for me, I know some people like Stephanie are all tech, and so I'm sure her checklists are technology too, where you just like click a button and it checks it off. Maybe to-do list or Wunderlist or something like that, which is fine. So if you work like Stephanie, then that's a good way to keep tabs on what you're doing. If you're like me, I like to physically write things out because I like the completion of crossing it off my list physically.
Yep.
So for me, I'm a writer-outer. So I'll write out my to-do list. And what I do is typically on a Monday, I'll write out what I'm going to do for the week. And listen, with the crisis going on, I've been putting down simple things too, like write out your checklist for the week, and then I'll get to cross that out. So I've been adding like everything that I can just to make myself feel more productive, because I am accomplishing tasks. So I write it out and then I get to cross it off. So that's been really helpful. And it really will keep you focused on what you need to do. So like I said, I start off with my to-do for the week. So I kind of put down the bigger chunk projects that I know I want to accomplish this week. And because we're working from home now, I've been including home tasks too. So like I do know that I want to mow the grass this week, so I'm going to write it down. So you can compartmentalize by like work, by home, by different things, but you do want to have some type of a list structure. And then what I'll also do is at the beginning of each day, I'll write a separate list of what I want to accomplish that day. And I'll touch more on that in the next 2 or 3 suggestions, but it is important to write down your list. And then that way too, you can cross them out. You can see what you're accomplishing during the day. Because like I said, working from home, it just has a different feel to it. You don't feel like you're accomplishing everything that you normally do. So write down that list.
So is this more of a realistic list, or the things that you want to get done or you have to get done?
I love that. Okay, you made me, I wasn't going to say this yet, but you made me skip to point
Sorry.
6. No, that's okay. I'm going to just put it in now. So point 6, which is now point 4, is going to be to set achievable daily goals. No, I love it, Stephanie, because it's so realistic. So here's the thing. We're in crisis mode. We're working from home. We have extra roles on our shoulders, which means that we're realistically not going to get things done that we got done before. It's just going to look differently. So what you need to do is write down realistic goals. And maybe this is a conversation you have with your team, or maybe this is a conversation that you have with your boss or leader or manager, and just chat it out together and be like, this is what I can realistically do from where I'm at right now. And maybe that'll change in a week from now when you get into a routine, or maybe it's changed already from the 2 weeks that you've been at home. You know, things are going to constantly be in flux, and we just have to kind of get used to our new normal is not so normal. And that's okay. But absolutely, yes, set realistic goals for yourself. So I'm not saying that you have to be lazy and be like, well, I don't think I'm going to roll off the couch today, so I won't get that done. But you do want to set realistic goals. So for example, for myself, I'll write out, okay, this is what I want to accomplish today, but I know that I might not get it completely finished. So my absolute deadline would be the end of this week. So I give myself a little bit of grace to get things done. I'm going to try my hardest to get it done, but I'm also giving myself the grace to not finish it today if I can't. So you just want to write out goals that are going to be realistic for your situation, realistic for your company, for your team. And then, like I said, just discuss it with your team, because together you can work out a system. Maybe you can accomplish certain goals, or maybe they'll realize that that's not going to work right now. So just try to be as realistic as possible, because otherwise you just feel the pressure and stress of not accomplishing goals, and you feel unproductive when you really are accomplishing big things. So the next one would be to block out your schedule. So this goes back to setting goals and scheduling things out. But right now with the crisis, we don't have a normal routine. Our routine has been disrupted in so many different ways. And so the lack of routine, and research shows us this too, can cause high stress, and not only in children and families. So you have to kind of be aware of that, but also for adults. Not having a routine makes you tend to the more depressed side. You can kind of get out of swing of things. You won't be able to accomplish as much as you're usually accomplishing. So it's important to not only manage your time, but to block out your time. Be like, this is what I'm going to do today. So for example, for myself, what I'll do in the morning when I'm writing my list, I'll give myself kind of time frames to accomplish goals. And so I'm really not putting myself in a box, but I'm trying to say, okay, I want to dedicate this amount of time to this so that if I go over, it's okay. But I also don't want to spend 2 hours working on something and then realizing, oh my goodness, my 2 hours just disappeared. I wasn't expecting to do that. So you really want to manage your time by putting blocks in. And this also includes, you should be doing family time as well. So productivity, it not only applies to work, but it applies to home life and relationship building and making sure your kids are feeling secure. And routines are so important for families and for children. It just helps them feel safe. So as much as you can, establish a routine. And if that means, I know one of my friends did a huge board for all, like 3 of her kids and her husband and herself. So they all knew what each other were doing throughout the day. So mommy was on a call here, daddy was at work from this time to this time. And then this was family time. So they had routines in place, and it blocked the time out, but it also told the whole family what normal is right now. And yes, you can come get mommy and daddy when they're busy, but this is what we are going to be doing at this time. And it just creates a little bit of structure so that there's a feeling of safety. And like I said, it is mostly for children, but adults feel that safety as well. So the routine and structure is going to help you stay productive and on task.
Definitely. I actually have a friend that has set this routine when her children go to take a nap. She actually gets on the phone to make sure that there's no noise interference. So that routine kind of helps her out to make sure that her kids are sleeping, but also that her phone calls are uninterrupted and that she can actually get work done. So it totally makes sense. But, without that nap, there's no work to be done, and kids are probably going to be cranky as well. So.
No, I love that idea. Listen, at this point, you got to do what you got to do to get it done.
Yeah.
So that's brilliant. That's really smart. Okay, I know we have to move quickly because we're short on time here, but I lost track of the numbers, but the next one is going to be to take care of yourself. So productivity is only as good as the person is capable of presenting, right? So if I'm not taking good care of myself, I'm not going to be at my most productive. And because of the crisis, we're experiencing high levels of stress. We're experiencing all these different factors. And if you're anything like me, when you go to the grocery store, you're like, well, I deserve these 3 bags of chips and cookies while I'm binge watching my shows on Netflix. But the truth is, we really have to be careful and guard ourselves and protect ourselves. And that starts with a lot of self-care. So like I said, please watch the video with Betsy and Pastor Jim. They talk about self-care during this crisis mode, and it's so good. But just a few tips to stay productive is definitely be drinking a lot of water. I know it seems simplistic, but your brain needs water to function properly. And so make sure you're drinking throughout the day, tons of water, keeping yourself hydrated. Also, exercise is really important for brain activity. And so if it's possible, you might be in a location where you're not physically allowed to leave your home, but if it is at all possible, like go for a walk, stretch your legs, get your muscles moving so that there's no atrophy and that your brain is stimulated. They say over time, consecutive exercise keeps your brain active and working at its best. So if you can't get outside, maybe just do a couple laps around the house. Just keep your brain stimulated and working at top notch so that you can be at your most productive. And then number 7, the final tip I have for you guys to stay productive is to celebrate the small wins. Okay, listen, we are in the midst of crisis. We are in a traumatic experience, but you guys are doing hard work. We're still working from home. We're getting things done, and it might not feel like it because we're not in the office. And so there's that reality is that sometimes we do accomplish a big project and we don't even realize we've done it just because we're at our computers at home stressing out about everything else going on around us. So it is so important to celebrate the little wins. And what do I mean by celebrate? Well, it can mean whatever it means to you. So for example, for myself, I'm super bad at remembering to drink water. I'll just get in the zone and start working and not. So I have a little reminder on my phone to drink 8 glasses of water a day. So once I finish my 8th glass, I celebrate. I'm like, I take a step back and say, Christina, you did it. You did your goal. You drink all your water. And then I just take a moment to make myself proud. It was a good job. I accomplished the goal that I had set out for myself. So For some people, if you accomplish that huge project you're working on for work, give yourself that piece of chocolate. You did it. You earned it. Call a coworker and be like, hey, man, I finished the project. And just tell people, let them celebrate with you, create that excitement. You really deserve to have your work recognized. And so even if you're the one recognizing that work, do it. Celebrating small wins will highlight the fact that you are being productive, and it'll trick your brain into realizing that you're going to be more productive during the day. Because if you keep celebrating the little wins, you'll want to continue to make little wins and make bigger wins. So it's all about celebrating the wins. So those are my tips for staying productive while working from home or just working remotely and during this crisis. And leaders have this. Everyone's doing really awesome work. And Faith Assembly is here for you.
Yes.
And I'm so excited to have an opportunity to chat with you today, Steph.
Yay. Thank you, Dr. Christina, for joining us today. Awesome. The 7 tips will be available in our description at the bottom. So go ahead and click on those, and we'll actually add some links in there as well. We can pray our way out. So I'll go ahead and do that. Lord God, we thank you. We thank you for all the leaders that are watching today, God. I just ask you that these 7 tips just sit on their heart, God, and really guide them, God, and help them through this time. God, we just ask you that your Holy Spirit be with us throughout this time as well. And we're asking for your blessing and continual, just God, guidance. In your name we pray. Amen. Thank you, Dr.
Amen.
Christina.